so I'll pass over to Richard now, and he's going to be joined by his colleagues Mo and Anne as well for the technology update. No? Oh, apologies. Just Richard.
Thanks, Jen. Yeah, so just me today. I don't think there's a pointer on this, is there? No. So, yeah, I'm Richard Petrie, I'm the CTO. I'm going to take you through the technology update, and I'll try and time it so that we get to the AGM, but we'll see how we go. Maybe there's be some questions at the end. So I'm going to go through the operations update, a little bit of what Curtis touched on earlier about the metrics that we use, why we use them, and what we're looking for. What hopefully, from a membership point of view, you can contribute to that for us. Incidents and improvements, and there's only one that I'm going to talk through in any detail. An update on the London 1 project and some other projects that are going on, and then just round off with root servers. And I've got a quick update on our email system as well. So, from an operations update, and as we go through this, if you've got a question, please do ask. I will pause at the end for questions as well. But if there's, because I go through 4 different sections, if there is a question on that particular slide, just you raise your hand and we'll get a mic. So, measuring success, how do we do that? Why is it important to us? So we look at Despro tickets. You saw a couple of these graphs in Curtis's slides, but I'll go into a bit more detail. But the first one there is the Despro feedback, which is pretty instant. As soon as you have a support ticket or a provisioning ticket and that closes, you will then get asked for a response, and that obviously gives you a chance to fill out, whether you're happy or unhappy, why you are happy or why you're unhappy with the service that you received. Every single one of them gets looked at, so your comments are always taken seriously. We have the member survey. That hasn't gone out there this year yet, but that will be coming out, and there's some key metrics that we look at from a technology point of view on that. And then finally, LINX Community, which we've launched recently, and really trying to promote that. We're gonna try and get a little bit more feedback on LINX Community back into the team, so we can hopefully get a little bit more interactive communication going with the membership. So why are these important? The colours aren't so great there, and certainly the colours aren't the same as when I produce the graphs. But the key things to pick out here: self-service. We launched a couple of years ago on this ambition that we would have an order management system with a digitised work experience, so that members could log in through the portal and then get access to the services. And this isn't just about going onto a web portal, filling out a form, and then it pops into a queue for someone to work on. This is full end-to-end order management and interaction with the network. So if you order something on here to say buy a peering port upgrade from 2 gig to 5 gig on a peering service, this will actually then tie in with our automation systems and program the network live and fulfill on that service all the way through to the end without anybody from the LINX technical team working on that. So really, it's from a strategic point of view, it's been important to us. What we appreciate though is that if you go in and you use the portal and you work through this and you have a bad experience, there's no human that you've interacted with that you can give feedback to. So again, on these type of services, if you're going onto the portal, you're using one of these tools, when I get to the community, there is a button that you can go into on community and raise a bug ticket. And it's a, until we get that feedback on how well we do test these with user experience, but until we get that real feedback on what you think of these tools, it's very difficult for us to improve on these. So please, if even if you think that this wasn't quite right, the experience wasn't quite right, if you use the self-service functionality, please do give feedback on either through the bug on the community or through the Despro tickets. So what's happened here? Well, just to point out a couple of things that we released in the early days when we first released this. We released the functionality for the connections partners to come in and do some work, and we released the functionality for Mac changes, Mac address changes, so that if you were doing a maintenance, you could log in through the portal and you could change the Mac address under the maintenance window. Around September, October 2023, which is around the middle there, of the chart, we released the ability to order a peering port, so a physical port with a peering service over it. Now, that was only just to order, so hence you see, I think it's sort of like a pinky purpley colour as on the screen there. That was for anything new that was coming into the system. So if you already had a port and you wanted to change that, modify that, there was a little bit of a quirk around how the original port that you would have ordered maybe a year or 5 or 10 years ago, how that was configured, and it had to be reconfigured. So effectively, the port had to be taken down. So the modification, cancellation modification functionality came out February, March time, 2023. So that the very small chart at the end there, or the line at the end there is actually is May. The second one in is April, which is the last full month. And you can see around the February, March time, you start to see a pickup in functionality, and that's really down to these additional services. So on that last one, you can see the two big bits of information there. One is port orders, and the other one is MAC address changes, which are the most popular ones. So we monitor this from an adoption. Hopefully, there's only so many services per month that will need to be changed. But what we monitor from a user point of view is how do people interact with the self-service functionality and obviously uptake and use of it. But say try it out if you have the chance. But if anything doesn't quite work as you expect it to, please do let us know and give feedback on that. So the second one, and Curtis had this as well, and I just want to talk a little bit about it. This is the Desk Pro satisfaction. So if you get to complete a ticket and you get asked for feedback, and you put a comment into your feedback, it comes into one of the tickets that the team look at, and say every single one of these tickets is analysed. Good and bad. On the screen, you can just make out there's a few yellow lines there. The yellow lines are negative comments and feedback where we haven't done a good enough job, and the blue is neutral, and the green is where we have positive feedback. And say negative feedback and positive feedback is really good for us to analyse and see. Especially, sometimes we'll get tickets that come back in and say, NOC did a fantastic job, thank you. Sometimes people will write in and actually describe what their experience was and why it was a good job or why it was a bad job. And so please, I mean, again, I know it's time and sometimes when you get these survey questions, it's a little bit of a pain. But if you do give us feedback, it's a positive, and you get a chance to explain what happened, or negative, and explain, what we could have done to improve on. Please do give that feedback as well, because it's something that we always look at. So as well as the digital experience, and then we've got the Desk Pro member feedback experience, which is instantaneous. As soon as you've had a fault or you've had a service delivered, then you'll get that opportunity. We also have the once a year member satisfaction survey that comes through. A couple of things on here that we look at, you pick out on the bottom there: NOC, technical support, stability of the exchange, and engineering competence there, which we analysed over the last 5 years. Very positive figures. We had a little bit of a dip last year in some of those metrics, and so we're hoping to strive to get back up to the sort of 8.9, 9.1 range that we had before. But it's a real combination of these three operational metrics that we look at, we share with the teams. We do put into monthly reports that the board and the non-executive directors that are elected from the community get to see these as well. So we get feedback on how we're performing. And it's finally, just before I move on to the incidents, this community, I think we got around 250 people that are now signed up onto LINX Community. It'll be great to see a little bit more interaction on that. So do feel free to message the Sean and the NOC team. Do monitor that. So whether it's a question on support or product, or even if you just need some help, there's some great information on there. There is a bug, as I say. On there, you can do a report a bug. So if you use one of our digital tools, do click on there, raise a bug. We'll pick up on it, and then somebody might contact you just to talk about what the experience was. But it's a great way for us to make sure we keep improving our services that we deliver to everybody. Okay. So on incidents, we moved away from giving you a long rundown of different incidents that went onto the network. I tried to summarise it a little bit to make it more precise. So since our last meeting where we got together, we've had, I think it's around six incidents that have occurred. Actually, only one of them really impacted the membership, which was the London 1 issue up there, which I've put down. There's actually one problem, so it's the same incident that occurred 3 times. I'm going to talk a little bit about that. We had and all of these are available on the links on the maintenance and outages page on the LINX portal that you can look in as well. But JetX, we had a management service that went down, so you would have seen there was a outage report for that, but that was just purely for our access to get into it from a management point of view. Packets were passing from a member peering point of view the whole time. Nairobi, we had an at-risk where one of the fibers went down, but we got redundant fiber, so it wasn't actually service affecting. And the systems one there, we were doing a patch to one of the components, so that digital self-service workflow, one of the components in that system had to be patched, and there was a bit of an issue with the redundancy of those components, and so we had to pause the capability of the self-service temporarily while we fixed that. But again, wasn't service affecting. We could configure and provision manually if needed. So what are the ones I did actually put an update on Community just to talk about those. So the 3 main things that came up there was that system issue that I mentioned, which was on the 20th of March, where we had to pause the automation platform. And the other 3 incidents, one first occurred on the 29th of March, reoccurred on the 10th, and then the 13th. And this is on LINX London 1, where we had a Juniper line card issue. And just confusingly there, it's got LINX London 1, which is at the Digital Realty site, also called London 1, which is the old Interaction site that they acquired, is over in the old Truman Brewery area near Old Street. So what happened? The 29th of March, we saw some errors on the card. Unfortunately, the same card not only connected a number of members, but it was also the card that connected the root server for the primary root server on London 1. After contacting JTAC, the Juniper technical team, the advice often was to reset, put some debugging on and monitor that, which we did on the 29th. It seemed to have corrected the issue, but then on the 10th of April, we had a reoccurrence of that issue. It's quite common for Juniper, I'm sure, as many of you know, that you reset. Sometimes this clears the bug, and it runs quite happily for many months. This, by the 10th of April, we saw a reoccurrence. This time we decided that we would RMA the card and replace it. Unfortunately, we scheduled for an RMA on the 13th, but before we had a chance to swap out the card, the bug reoccurred, and so we actually did an emergency swap there and then with the card. So whilst I think we could have probably been a little bit more controlled on that event on the 13th rather than waiting for the emergency maintenance, we could have maybe brought that forward. The impact, the fact that reoccurred and then replaced the hardware is a pretty standard approach for these things. I think we probably kept the impact for the members for the membership as best minimized it as best as possible. So that was the only one that was service affecting on the network since the last meeting. Again, we'll continue to analyze the incidents across the globe at the different events, obviously putting some priority on for events like this, for the big London, the 2 London networks to make sure we're maintaining good quality of service on there. But as I say, with LINX Community or other communications mechanisms, if there's any outages or events that occur, incidents that occur that you need more information on, please do contact myself or Sean or one of the teams, and we'll always come back and give you a bit more information. So, projects updates. First one is London 1 project. So we just heard about the Telehouse project in Telehouse South, and I was pretty amazed with all of the work that they were doing on sort of the impact of the green and the environment, and the work that's gone into making sure that the data center is power efficient, and all of the equipment that runs on that in their plant is so efficient. And one of the reasons for us to do London 1 project is that we're removing lots of old equipment that takes up space. It draws more power than it should per gigabit of traffic that we deliver, and one of the main drivers for refreshing that is to optimize the performance of the network. And in fact, the old Juniper boxes that we're taking out of the network, we're selling, or we're giving back to a Juniper partner, and we get a refund on some of that, and that gets recycled, that equipment gets recycled. So ties nicely into the Telehouse work as well. So what are we doing on London 1? So since I last spoke to you in April, we've done some further work on the project. We've started to deploy the Nokias alongside. We did install a couple of MX10Ks as well for the expansion. We've installed the Nokia SR2s, which gives us the ability to replace some of the MX960s, but it also gives us the ability to deliver 400 gig at all of these sites. So that's happened at RBS, which is the Sovereign House, TCM, which I think is the Boddington from my memory of the acronyms, as they changed ownership over the years, and the Acton site, TCA, which I think is the Equinix site. They've all been done with the SR2s. They're all now migration was done in April. For May, we've done the installation of devices at TCM. TCM should have been on the other one. Telehouse East, Telehouse North 2. And the work on the migration will run into June for Telehouse North 2 and Telehouse East. And that gives us the ability, I think, as I say, it's about 12 MX10Ks, 960s that we're taking out of the network and replacing with the MX10Ks and the Nokia SR2s and SR7s. As far as July and August is concerned, there's a little bit of work still to be done, both Equinix and TCA. When it comes to migrations, it's not quite as simple. Whilst we've installed the boxes in Acton, some of the migration needs a little bit of tidy up work because of the racks. We've had to move, we've had to shift things around. So there's a bit of a drag into July and August on them. And then, as I'm going to speak in a minute, we've got some ISO 27000 work coming up. So we're doing a lot of the tidy up audits and clean up for that as well to make sure that we're prepared for when the auditors come in. I think it's September to inspect the sites for the audit. Other projects, I think Curtis touched on this. The Nova has been successfully migrated to the Nokia 7220s. These are the IXR data center routers. We've got new members connected. If you're monitoring the statistics out there and interest out there, you'd have seen that for the first time, we've exceeded the 100 gig mark, and the traffic is really healthy out there. I know we've got some promotional work going on as well over in North America, so it looks really promising. The project ran very, very well. The old kit has been resold and recycled as well, and we're running with the Nokia platform, and so that's all proven out on the automation platform as well. So that's the first Nairobi and Nova are the first two that went on to the 7220s on the automation platform for that. The second project that's happening at the moment in conjunction with London 1, the ISO 27000 standard has been updated, or it was updated in 2022. We're going to be moving to that as we work through the summer. This actually takes into account Manchester, Scotland, Wales, as well as the two London networks. So it isn't just the London 1 work that we're doing this for, but this ISO 27000 will be all of our UK data centres and facilities that we provide. We'll be, in August, we do what's called the core assessment, where they look at our systems, our provisioning, our IT systems, and security and software systems. And then in September, they will go and do an inspection of the data centers. We're expecting them hopefully by October, November, we'll have the new certificate, and then we'll be back in November just to give an update on how that went. And if there's interest on understanding the difference between the old standard, the 2013, and the new 2022 one, we've had a lot of work and support from external experts on that. And Dan from our team has been leading on that internally. And if there's interest in doing an update on that, do request that. It'll be a good one for us to share with the membership. And then finally, Curtis mentioned Riyadh. It was installed, as Curtis said. It's done. It's from a network point of view. It's connected. It's all in place. There were some problems when we did the installation, when the engineers went over. Power wasn't quite set up. We had some temporary power, but we want to have the full data center redundancy power. And there was some work that was being done in the data center hall that meant that there was some dust. So we had to power down the devices after we tested them, just to make sure we didn't get any dirt into the systems. That's all finished now. So from what I understand from the project team today is that we're on schedule to have the redundant power and have the clean environment, and then there's a process that we go through just to do the what's called acceptance into service, where we do some health checks as we go. So we think probably first week in June that will be live, and we know that there's some member connectivity that's been geared up in the pipeline. So I'm pretty hopeful that once that goes live early in June, we're going to see members connecting and traffic passing over that fairly quickly afterwards. And then on to root servers. So we have actually got a presentation tomorrow on this for OpenBGPD. It's always been our ambition at LINX when we moved away from Quagga to get back to dual root server setup. And so for the last 2-3 years, we've been running Bird on our primary and secondary root servers across the networks. We're now in a position where we've tested and we've deployed OpenBGPD root server to all but London 1 networks. So really a healthy position we're in. Mo's going to talk about the history. We've done this presentation elsewhere actually for EuroX and GPF, and it's good to see that there is, as I put the first bullet point there's some real positive feedback from the rest of the community, the IX community. So Tim from our team, Tim Preston, he did a presentation at EuroX recently, which is a collection of other European IXs that got together, and it's real positive feedback on adoption for pickup on that. So I think, whilst we've been the first to push out on that, I think there'll be quite a few internet exchanges that follow and start adopting the two root server strategy as well. So we're now in the final stages. Mo's testing 8.4. He'll talk a little bit about the history and then where we get to on that. 8.4, and if we can get that working, the idea is 1,000+ peers will have been tested in the lab, and that will give us the ability to deploy onto London 1. As Ben says, there's a lot of peering sessions that you'll pick up on London 1, and we need to make sure that the root server technology is fit for the size of the network. So that will get us to a position on OpenBGPD. Hopefully, let's say the lab side of it, we were hoping that 8.4 was going to be stable for us, but I think as Mo will touch on, there has been a few bugs on that. But I think I would still say by the end of June, we should be in a position where we can say whether we can go ahead on that and deploy. We should certainly by the end of the year. I'd be disappointed if we don't reach that position by the end of the year where we will be fully diverse across every single internet exchange point. And then on Bird 2, we've finally got to a point for all of the LINX run. I'll just caveat that because I think JetX is still running on the older ones. But on Bird 2, we've upgraded from 1.6 to 2 on all sites that we run, and all root collectors. So the root collectors that was talked about in the last session by Ben, they will be getting upgraded to Bird 2 by the end of Q2 as well. And the final point on the root servers is the Alice looking glass. We would have seen, for those that follow the ops updates, we did have a bit of a bug on version 6. It seemed to have a bit of a resource issue on the servers that it was running on. So 6.1 has been geared to roll out. It's been tested. As far as we're aware, it's working well, and it will be rolled out it's been tested on the collectors, and it'll be rolled out hopefully to the root servers as well. And then finally, I'm not sure I'll be able to make it last all of 10 minutes unless we get lots of questions, is the mail list manager. So we identified through feedback from LINX members on the LPC that our mailing list manager was not sort of keeping pace with some of the security improvements in the mailing email setup. After investigation and review, we decided we're going to change that out. Hopefully, it won't, other than improve the service that you get, it won't be visible to any members. This is just an FYI, just to let you know it is going to be coming along, and we will send a maintenance out And this was just an opportunity to explain it. So where we saw some problems is just around the process of forwarding on the emails from the groups like membership and LPC and so on. The problem is the current mailing list manager that we have is pretty old. It's not being used. We kind of had it as a, it's not broken, let's not fix it type thing. But the only way for us to improve, because of the security demands of emails, setups now is for us to bolt on an additional functionality, and really it's not fit to be adapted. So we're going to move to a more standard mailman, GNU mailing list manager. That's being tested at the moment. The actual technology behind it is well supported in the community. There's a lot of documentation. That's not really a big delay for us. The problem on a timing point of view is just testing to make sure that we move all of the mailing lists over. We don't get any issues. So there's a couple of weeks of, week to 2 weeks of testing. And then the other one is we built a lot of in-house tools based on APIs that allow the NOC to do some of the more technical changes on these lists without having to be experts on the technology. The change of APIs and the integration with our tooling chain just takes a little bit time for that. So it's probably going to be about 2 weeks, and then we'll give an update on that switchover. But as I say, hopefully, other than improving the service, you won't get to see any problems with that. But it's just an FYI if that comes up for discussion. But and that's it from me. Just to say thank you. But I would like, if you've got some questions, I would like to. And we've got about 6 minutes.
Hi, Ian Dickinson from Vitrify. I don't think I can use all the 6 minutes, but given the ITF have just changed from Mailman 2 to 3, I think, and it's been pretty disastrous with all the DMARC failures and spam marking and whatever, it would be interesting if you can, hard to say, but prove that that isn't an issue with this change here. If it does prove to be swimmingly smooth, could you perhaps tell the IATF how to fix it?
Yeah, I mean, one of the caveats around the time on the mailing list is just to make sure we test it out. So I don't want to speak too soon that we'll get it right where others haven't. We certainly know that we found other documented processes of converting over from our current one to the mailman that works fine. So yeah, I mean, I think we're always as transparent as we can be with these things. If in 2 weeks' time we run into an issue and we find problems with corner cases, we'll come back on the list or the ops update list and put that through. But yeah, I mean, hopefully, we have a positive story, and it'd be good to share that. So, but yes, and if we have something good to share, we'll let others know. But yeah, appreciate the concern. Yeah.
Hey, Richard. So Ben Ryle from Meta.
Hi, Ben.
So thanks very much for the update on the mailing list piece. I guess to Ian's point, as working for a network which has a lot of email security, particularly spoofing our domains, can be appreciated getting that in, and we can support doing any testing on that as well. And I guess it's good news if all the questions are mailing list based and not about the platform. Thanks.
Thank you. Yeah, no, that's good. Yeah, no, I appreciate the feedback, and say, we will do some testing. I mean, the good thing with this new setup is it gives us some dev environments that we can work with, but appreciate the support the support from supportive members that can test with us and go through that. So thank you.
Hi, it's Connor from Inferno. I was just wondering if there are any plans to have more specific sort of incident emails, because right now, I think everyone gets every incident for every site. So I think probably myself and a lot of others just sort of throw them in a folder because there are so many that aren't really necessarily relevant to anyone. Are there any plans to have more personalized, specific incident notifications that actually affect you as opposed to everything?
Yeah, I mean, one of the things we'd like, so the community is one aspect. The idea being that you go onto the community. We know that some people, let me just step back from those. We know that some people will root emails that come through, standard emails that will come through and go into a collection folder, let's say. But with the idea with the community is part of the process of learning how the membership want to interact is you can go into the community platform and say, well, I just want to subscribe to these particular events. Yes, you'll get an email. Well, I mean, some people can opt out of notifications that convert into me email. But the idea being that you can personalize that and then you eventually get to a point where you do just subscribe to the bits that you wanted. I mean, going back many, many years, we used to have every event was sent to one email address and you had to be, I think it was in the MOU for a number of years where you had to be subscribed to that, and then we introduced a kind of a tier per LAN. And I think the ambition was, well, certainly for me, was that eventually you would get to a point where you would only subscribe to the mailing list that you wanted to, and you could log into the portal, you could unsubscribe and manage that yourself. I think with community, you know, if we can prove the value of that, that would give us a mechanism. Otherwise, it's a question of, tailoring mailing lists to try and make that user experience a little bit more acceptable. And there's, you know, I guess there's things we can do with filtering, or we can put certain headers, and I think it's been raised in the past about having, you know, parsable standard templates on there as well to make it machine readable. But I mean, all of those things, I mean, I know Katie's sitting behind you, is involved in a lot of that user experience stuff. We'll take that on board and see how we can improve the experience. So, you know, thanks for the comment and feedback. Yeah.
Makes sense. Thank you.
Hi, Ben from BGP Tools. Just to sort of add on to Connor's point, I've definitely missed outages or maintenance that affects me because I got alert fatigue on all of the incident emails and just sent them all into sort of email hell.
Yeah.
I think that's a really important problem.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Ben. Okay.
We've got 2 minutes.
2 minutes. Sorry. Well, that was
Not bad. Oh, there we go.
Hi, Richard, Steve Wright. On the self-service side, have you been quantifying the amount of time saved in employee resource?
Thanks, Steve. Yes. No, I know because we've spoken in the past about this and as a key measurement. It's different. I mean, you know, we don't do timesheeting at LINX. I mean, as a practice, we don't. We have a ticket system, a Jira ticket system that we track and have a concept of story points which equate to effort. So we do look at the amount of time we spend on how we digitize services. We don't have a per, you know, like a per dollar developer cost equals X. I mean, you saw from that chart at the beginning the cumulative effects of it, and I think at some point we will do the analysis to look at key as we've matured as an organisation, and we you know, before it was very much approach it you know, with an ambition just to improve. Now it's like, well, can we what's our choice in the improvements? And I think, you know, we'll get better at reporting on that. We don't have the figures right now on, like, you know, the last, you know, I think the last one that we released in in February, March, was the change and edit on the port, which saw that second spike in that cycle, that 12-month cycle. So if you was to say to me, oh, well, how much did it cost you to release that functionality? We don't have that exact number. But certainly, you know, we have a pretty robust system where we go through the process of, so, you know, how important this is. The management team vote on, you know, what we want to put resources into, and then we obviously have budgets that we sign off for the membership. But I know what you're after is like an exact dollar or pound per feature. Not quite there yet, but I'll, you know, I'm sure I'll get there at some point. Yeah. Thank you.
We'll actually have to stop you there.
Yes. Thank you. Anyway,
Thank you very
thanks.
much.
Cheers.
Thanks for your questions, everybody.